Welcome to The Subject is Moot, where everything we discuss is debatable. I am Dom, and across from me is
Mike.
And a special thanks to Vinny and Quiz, the producers of the podcast. We want to hear from you, so write in your opinion, comments, or topics you want us to talk about to thesubjectismoot@yahoo.com, and we will bring them up during future shows. You can also follow us on Twitter at TSIM_podcast. Make sure you stay to the end of the show to find out our artists of the podcast, as well as the answers to our trivia questions. Music, Mike, are you ready?
Always.
We have some listeners to respond to. They had some feedback, to our last show. Some of them had some questions. So
much appreciated.
Absolutely.
Always.
Absolutely. So let's get ready for that. Your Moot Point, which is brought to you by Headphone.com. Obsessed music geeks at your service since 1992. They are renowned for honest headphone reviews, fanatically dedicated customer service, and in-depth product evaluations. Headphone.com also offers a wide variety of headphone amplifiers located in Montana, USA. Call 1-800-828-8184 for sales assistance, technical questions, or advice. You could also check them out at their website, headphone.com. When you place your order, mention discount code MOOT10, MOOT10, and receive 10% off your order. Some exclusions do apply. All right, Mike, for your moot point, John from Georgia wrote in to get some clarification on what I said during our last show. He said, during your last podcast, Is Music Dead? You said you didn't like Green Day, but they were the last greatest band. Can you clarify your reasoning? Absolutely. I definitely can, John. I know what you're saying. Maybe I contradicted myself. Maybe I didn't. I don't really remember exactly what I said, but I will tell you how I feel right now, which is pretty much the same. Green Day is possibly the last greatest band, but I don't think they're better than Pearl Jam. Okay, I like Pearl Jam better. Green Day is more of a three-chord.
Personally, you're saying?
Personally, why?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, personally, yeah. I think, this is not factual. This is my opinion. This is your moot point, and I have a moot point myself. Green Day is a three-chord rock band. They put out great music, catchy tunes, lyrics, everything about the band I think is great. But musically, I like the progression, the style of music that Pearl Jam offers over Green Day. If I had to pick the last greatest band, yes, it would be Green Day, but I prefer the sound. I like Pearl Jam better. So hopefully that clarifies that answer. Mike, I don't know if you wanted to add anything. That's my opinion as far as Green Day.
The last greatest band is a touchy subject. Obviously, there'll be plenty of arguments about that over the years and continuing on. Whoever feels their own band that they love, they hold dear to them is great still. It's not about that. It's about that grand scale idea.
Oh, absolutely.
Of who appeals to the masses.
Sure.
So, no, I mean, I got your reasoning last time, but I understand where it was a little unclear. So
yeah, it could be, and absolutely.
Thanks,
sometimes,
John.
Yeah, John from Georgia. We appreciate you writing in. Sometimes when you're talking and you're like in the middle of a conversation, you think back later on, or even when you're editing the show, you says, "Well, I kind of maybe wasn't clear about that." So that's what your moot point is all about. We want you to write in and talk about anything you want us to talk about, even questions that you may have. Which brings Mike. Read the next one because this is a great question.
Brian from Arizona writes in, Mike, you mentioned your favorite greatest hits albums were by Journey and the Police. These next two questions are for the both of you, meaning you and I, Dom. 1, what are your top 5 favorite bands and or artists and why? And 2, what are your top 5 favorite albums and why? Those are two huge questions, Brian. What do you think about those questions?
I was hoping we would never have to actually bring this up. These are. It's like saying, who's the greatest baseball player? Who's the greatest basketball player? Or the greatest football player? I mean, when you have the history of music, and as many bands and artists, I mean, I'm not going to sit here and brag about how many I listen to compared to you, but I listen to a lot. To name your top 5 artists is very, very hard.
Well, I'm glad Brian, said your instead of the.
Yeah. Oh no, I can't sit here and say the top greatest bands are 1 through 5. I can't. Who am I?
Right.
But what I'd like to do is, and Mike, if correct me if you want to do something different. But what I'd like to do is to say your top 5 is very difficult. But can we give a top 10? Can we give our top 5 and then also give another 5?
A bonus 5.
A bonus 5.
bonus five,
Let's
yeah.
call it a bonus 5.
I can give you a bonus 100, but we'll stick to a bonus 5.
Well, and then as far as the top 5 favorite albums, what I'd like to do is kind of save that probably for another show.
We'll address, yeah, because that could go into some time.
Yes, and I think, you know what, 5 albums, 5 bands, 5 bands is hard enough, but to label another 5 albums, and I don't want to go too long, I like to at least address the 5 greatest bands, in depth. So if we can save the top 5 favorite albums for another show, that would be great. So Brian,
We will address both of your questions, Brian, definitely.
absolutely. So Brian, yes, thank you for that question. That is a tremendous question. I like the question, so thank you for that. Gar from New York. Oh, Gar.
Good old Gar.
You can rely on Gar, that's for sure. He wrote
Always.
in, what are the gauges that you use as your standards for what's good and what's not? For example, does it pass the sing-along test, the rewind test? Does it make you want to learn the origin of the song and want to learn it yourself and cover it? Gar, you ask great questions, and you consistently ask great questions, so we thank you for that. So, Mike, why don't you get into that?
I don't really gauge how I like music. It has to hit me. I have to feel it. And there's so many ways. It's very deep for me personally because I love so many bands and artists and types of music, styles of music. I understand the sing-along test, the rewind test. Those are always the best that stand out. You go to a show, you want to sing along with your favorite band in a live show, or you want to blast the music in your basement or music room and sing along and dance along. That always helps. But as I've said many times in the past on this show, I'm an album listener. I like to really appreciate everything that the artist put into their album and each song. Obviously, every album is always going to have better songs than others, but I really don't gauge on that too much, but I completely understand what he's saying. It just has to hit me in some way. That's it. Speak to me. That's it. It has to speak to me.
You know what? And it's a great question because some people like music for the lyrics, and they're more, Bob Dylan and everybody else out there who are, the great music writers, lyric-wise. I actually find those to be the last in what I listen to in music. As far as, sing-along tests, I don't sing along to anything. I can't sing.
We're products of the 80s, Dom, and there was really bad lyrics in the 80s throughout all of music.
Yeah, no, there was. And, but even the 70s, 90s, whatever it is, lyrically, that's the last on my list. First thing I listen to is the music.
Me too.
All right, music, the instruments.
Instrumentation.
Exactly. Basically, the progression of the song. Does it move me? Absolutely. What kind of mood am I in?
Right.
And then I listen to the vocals itself. Okay, that's why I really don't listen to death metal as much as that actually just contradicted what I say, because I actually like death metal music in a way, but I don't like the vocals.
Right.
I can't get into the vocals. I don't know if I ever will.
At this point, you probably.
Yeah, I don't think so. But as far as music, rewind tests, it has to, like you said, it has to move. It has to hit you to where, it has to be good. It has to be good. I mean, there are songs out there who you just listen to and you just can't put them back on. But, so for me, it's the music, the vocals, and lyrics are last. I don't even, it depends on the mood I'm in. But don't get me wrong. There are songs out there that I actually hold very special to my heart because of the lyrics. But that's last on my list. So hopefully that answers your question. It's a good question, so appreciate that. And, of course, John, Brian, Gar, thank you for writing in. We appreciate you listening to the podcast and supporting us as always.
I think it's trivia time, Dom.
Absolutely. Let's see how much everybody knows. Today we're going to discuss at some point, since the Grammys are coming up, February 12th.
Boo.
Mike doesn't like the Grammys. I like it. It's a show. It's a show.
No medal.
No, there's no medal. I record it so that I could fast forward through it.
Good idea.
If there's something that I see I don't like, I'm not even gonna sit there and watch it, and I'm not gonna sit there and watch it on that night that it's on because I don't want to sit through the commercials and everything else. So the trivia questions that we have today will be based on Grammy topics. Okay, so I always like to throw these questions in. What is Alicia Keys' real name? Okay. Second question is, what year was the first Grammy Award ceremony held? And, Mike, as we know, the top 4 most prestigious categories of the Grammys is Album of the Year, Record of the Year, Song of the Year, and Best New Artist. So, number 3, how many artists won all 4 of these Grammy Awards?
It's a good question.
Yeah. How many artists won all 4 of these Grammy Awards? I don't know. Well, actually, I do know.
You do know.
Yeah.
I didn't know. Well, I knew one of them.
You knew one of them.
I knew one of them.
So we'll definitely bring those up towards the end of the show. And for our main topic, and we'll get into a little bit of the Grammys later on. We'll talk about those top 4 categories. So let's address Brian from Arizona's question. What are your top 5 favorite bands and or artists, and why? Mike, I'm going to let you go first. You are Music Mike, and I want to hear your opinion.
You sure I'm going to go first?
You have to go first.
Your explanations are always so much more in depth, but
They're no, not in depth. They're just long-winded. That's why people like the podcast, I guess, because then they could just fast forward through it as opposed to listening to it live.
No, yeah, I hope not. Well, we're both in agreement. It's not really going to be numbered, correct? This is not.
Well, that's the thing. I don't think we. I can't. Okay, Brian. This is the way I'm going to break it down. I'm going to give you my top 5, and it's in no specific order. But Mike's going to go first.
No order, right?
Yeah, no. I would prefer to answer it as no specific order.
All right, my top 5 favorite bands and/or artists.
And maybe a little background of why.
It's difficult.
Yeah, it is.
No, I mean number 1, Joe Satriani, for every reason that he is, in my opinion, the greatest guitar player ever. He doesn't sing. He doesn't hide behind lyrics, and he still writes great, listenable songs on the guitar. He makes the guitar sing.
But didn't he sing on Flying in a Blue Dream?
It's few and far between, okay? It's very few and far between. If you want to get technical, then we need a much longer period of time. He sang on a few albums. But for the majority of his career and songwriting catalog, it's just him and guitar. That's how he started out, and that's how he continues. And he just keeps pumping out one great record after another. And personally, for me, Joe's my favorite. He really is. Everything he's done, it always brings me joy when I listen to him. Every note, every song. And it's not even about the technicality anymore. The guy just has settled in for quite some time, and just to an outstanding career, pumping one record out after another. Dream Theater, obviously, I'm a huge Dream Theater fan. Again, another band who I pretty much love every single thing that they've done. Falling into Infinity, when that came out when I was younger, it was a bit of a letdown at the time.
Man, I love that. I love that album.
I do now.
And I was in disagreement with you back then,
Yeah.
and I'm glad you came around.
Well, because it's in hindsight.
Well, I think part of me felt like back then, and I remember when you said you didn't like it. That's because Derek Sherinian was on there.
Well, I was brokenhearted by Kevin Moore's.
And Kevin Moore was no longer with the band. Right.
Departure.
So exactly. So I think because you are so, I'll use the word loyal. Okay. I think that's probably what blocked. You had that facade up, I guess, that you didn't let it in.
Well, I mean, listen, let's not disguise the fact that one, we're not going to get too deep into that one particular record, but the bottom line is it was a huge shift in sound and even styling too.
Commercial.
More streamlined. And then as the years went on and they talked more about that record, you found out a lot about it. And all the things that I didn't like about it were all the reasons it sounded the way it did came to fruition when Portnoy and Petrucci started to delve into what was going on within the band at the time and whatnot. In hindsight, I do like it now because I'm a huge fan of their whole catalog, but it's still last on my list of their records. But Dream Theater is a band that consistently pumps out album after album, just like Satriani does, for their fans. They stay true to themselves. They still write what they want to write. Look at the last record that came out. I mean, a double album with a storyline. I mean, that is a career risk. And I'm not saying it failed because it did not, but even the diehard fans had a little difficulty with it. I like it a lot. It's not my favorite, but they still do what they want and still please the fans every record. And Dream Theater, that's why they're up there. Next is Steve Vai. And not just his solo stuff, even the Roth stuff I love. Alcatraz, the one record he made with Alcatraz I love. I know for some people it gets a little kooky, but I love that about him. He's not like any other guitar player, and his career is the Whitesnake record I loved, the two Roth records, the Alcatraz record, all of his solo albums. Even when he sings, some of his songs are really, his voice is pleasant. It's not unpleasant. I'd rather him just play. But he's a pioneer, in my opinion. Sound, style, Vi really stands out. You know it's him when you hear him.
He's unique, absolutely.
Yeah. Another one may surprise people because it's a little bit out of the box, but Crowded House is another band that growing up I've always loved. Neil Finn is probably either my favorite or one of my favorite vocalists ever. I love his voice. I love the quirkiness in their music. Another band, and this is why they're in my top 5, where there really isn't anything I don't like by them and or him. Crowded House related. Their songs were catchy. When I was listening to a lot, when I listened to a lot of other prog or metal stuff that's a little more intricate and, either not always progressive, but still just more intricate. And when I want to just sit back and listen to just some really great songs, Crowded House does that for me, and they always will and continue to do that for me. Number 5 is Rush. What else can be said about Rush that hasn't been said already, especially in the past few years with the resurgence of their popularity and people's interest in them? There's a reason for that. They're the mighty Rush, and if there are people who are just climbing on board, good for you. You're not missing out because they're one of the greatest bands in history of music. The history of music.
That's a gift that keeps on giving. No question. Rush.
And you just said it. That's what makes Rush so good. If you could listen to 2112 today and then go back in a month or two, and you'll find tons of things. That's how I feel about Dream Theater too, but Rush inspired them heavily. You will continuously find new things about Rush that you love and their music and their albums.
When you have a band like Rush or Dream Theater and how as progressive as they are, and very intricate, it's a very detailed picture.
But the songs are there.
Oh no!
That's
Everything. But it's almost like when you watch a movie. You put on a movie, okay, and you watch it for the first time. You absorb as much as you possibly can. You watch it again, and you pick up a little bit more. Okay, you watch it a third time. Not that anybody has that kind of time to. I don't know how many. But you look at The Godfather, and yes, you can keep watching that. But guaranteed, you keep watching The Godfather over and over again, you're going to learn something new. And that's what's great about Rush and bands like Dream Theater. You could always hear something new.
That's why I love prog.
All right, so there's your 5. Why don't you throw out the bonus 5?
Bonus 5, and again, in no order. A band called Enchant from California. I think they're criminally underrated. I guess, again,
That's a good description.
Proggy. If I had to describe them, they're like Kansas meets Rush with a little Dream Theater and Marillion and thrown in for good measure, because they never really get too heavy, though. Great songs. Ted Leonard, another vocalist who I absolutely love. I got the chance to see them in Jersey, which was like a dream come true recently, about maybe two years ago, almost 3, I think, coming up, and they were phenomenal live. And they're not even a band that does a lot of touring, but they brought it live. It was in a small venue. They were fantastic.
I'm sorry I didn't go to that show. I remember when you went.
Yeah.
Yep, my fault. My mistake.
Unfortunately, it was a midweek show. I actually take off from work to see them, but I don't miss Enchant. I wouldn't miss Enchant. It's very rare they play around here. Very, very rare. Another band where every time you listen to one of their records, something new will come up. I think everybody out there should check them out, especially if you like some of the bands I kind of compared them to. You don't want to miss them, and you give them a chance. They're a great, great band. Doug Ott is another. I'm going to use the word criminally underrated guitar player. His lines are melodic. His writing is fantastic. To me, the combination of Leonard and Doug Ott and all the other band members who help obviously to write the songs, phenomenal. They're just a great band that I think should be checked out by anyone out there who likes just good music. Billy Joel, next one. Billy Joel's Billy Joel. I don't have to even go on about him. I'm a huge everything from the album Piano Man to probably Nylon Curtain. To me, all those records are perfect. He's a great songwriter. He wrote a lot of those songs on his own. No songwriting partnerships. Billy Joel, right?
Yeah.
What else do I have to say about Billy Joel?
Mm-hmm.
Paul Gilbert is a guitar player, but at the same time, he's been involved in a lot of the bands that I loved and everything he's done, even on his own. I continuously enjoy Racer X, Mr. Big, his solo stuff. Anytime the guy touches the guitar, I want to hear it. He plays with speed. Obviously, he'll probably be lumped into that whole shredder crowd. But the guy, every single note is crystal clear. You can tell he's really defined himself as a player and his craft because you hear every note. It's not like it's like just a bunch of bazillion notes coming out. The guy's great, and everything he's done, I love. Next, Queensryche. But let me just put a little disclaimer. Queensryche.
A little asterisk.
A
You're gonna put a little asterisk next to this.
a tiny asterisk.
Yeah.
Queensryche, which is their first EP, through the album Promised Land, and that's it. That's Queensryche to me. That's
the first 6.
That's the Queensryche that makes my top 10. Any album after that is not the Queensryche I love or loved. So, can make that little disclaimer. Great songs, one of the greatest metal vocalists, one of the greatest vocalists of our time in music.
We said he was the best.
I agree. I agree with myself and you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Their songwriting abilities, the whole band, DeGarmo, Wilton, Jackson, Rockenfield, they had it together, and especially for those years, for me personally. And 10 is Van Halen. Eddie, Roth, even Hagar, and Michael Anthony. You need Michael Anthony in there, and of course Alex. Everything they did together, from Van Halen 1 through Balance, and obviously Different Kind of Truth. Even some of the tracks they did, all the tracks they did on the Greatest Hits album that were thrown in there, the newer tracks that they re-recorded with Hagar and Roth. I love them. Unfortunately, Van Halen 3 is not in that list.
No.
But I do happen to love
We're talking about bands here
Extreme,
now.
yeah.
You're allowed to.
Yeah.
You're allowed to whatchamacallit.
But
You're allowed to not like an album.
Oh,
Still
yeah,
think a
yeah.
band is great.
Well, that's what I want to say. A lot of the reasons what leads these bands to be on this list, this coveted list, for our personal coveted list, are consistency.
Yeah, absolutely.
Obviously every band's going to have an album that's not their best,
Right.
but 3 really missed the mark.
Well, you call it what you want. As far as, was it an experiment? Was it he was trying out different sounds? It was a different singer, and that singer in another band was phenomenal. And if you want, we talked
They may
about
be
this
number
too.
11.
Well, you could
Extreme.
even say that you said it. We said it the last time that technique-wise and technical abilities, Gary Sharon is probably better than Roth and Hagar.
Yeah.
Know,
Still.
Yeah. So
But why beat a dead horse?
Yeah.
Van Halen is Van Halen, and there's everyone out there who knows Van Halen knows why they're in my top 10. And again, these are not numbered. But that's it. That wraps up my top 10.
It's a great top 10. I don't have exactly everything as you do, but my top 10 consists of some of the same artists. 1 through 5, and again, in no specific order, and I will group them like this: bands first and then solo artists in that top 5. So you have Van Halen, okay, between Roth and Hagar, which just, vocal gifts. Okay, Eddie, which I think is the last, not that I think, my opinion, and I'll never change, is he is the last guitar god. Okay, Michael Anthony and his backing vocals, their entire catalog, Alex on drums. Van Halen 1 is a staple in my music collection, and it should be in everybody's music collection. But top to bottom, yes, Van Halen 3, not so good, not even on the list, but still, Van Halen as a whole, absolutely tremendous, unbelievable, and I will never get bored of listening to them. They have a sound that, just like that's one of the uniquenesses of them. They have a unique sound. Nobody can match their sound. That's what I like about a band. Led Zeppelin, again, sound. When you hear them, you say, wow, this is something special. These guys are unbelievable. Nobody sounds like Led Zeppelin. It's raw. It's in your face. It's nonstop. Vocals, guitar sound, bass, drums, everything about Led Zeppelin is just phenomenal. Rush, it's a 3-piece band. Okay, and that's what I love about Rush. It's progressive. You'll hear something new every single time you listen to a song by Rush. Geddy Lee, what could you say? Lead singer, right? Keyboards and bass. the guy is the definition of complete versatility. I just can't get enough of Rush. Neil Peart on drums, considered one of the greatest drummers of all time, and Alex Lifeson on guitars.
The greatest drummer of all time. Period.
Okay, well, I'm not going to argue there. Dream Theater, I love Dream Theater. Everything they do, even Falling into Infinity, loved it. I didn't mind the commercialism of it, the radio friendliness. One of the biggest reasons why I listen to Dream Theater is John Mayung, one of my favorite bass players. I could watch him all day long. So Dream Theater is another gift that just keeps on giving. Can never get bored of them. Solo artists, I have to throw in Joe Satriani. He's tremendous. He plays fast. He plays slow. He's a shredder. He plays melodic and effortlessly. He never disappoints. He's always in the pocket. And he's just Joe. I mean, if you want, and I'm calling Eddie the last guitar god, I have to stick by that.
I get it. You know it.
But Joe Satriani is top 5, one of the top 5. As far as my bonus 5, has to be Billy Joel. Okay. For all the reasons that you said. Elton John. I love when first of all, I think I can't play an instrument and sing at the same time. And I think it's just outright impossible to play piano. You have your left hand and right hand doing separate things. You're singing, and your feet are controlling pedals. It's really it's a tremendous talent right there. And Elton John, Billy Joel, just.
I still regret not seeing them together live. I really wish you could turn back time.
Me too, absolutely. I always said when Elton John and Billy Joel play together in the same arena on the same night, I'm going to see them. And
any music fan should have been there.
And you know what? They did, and I didn't go. I love songs.
So
I mean, a lot of songs. All the songs by Elton John. Most of the songs, I should say. 60 Years On is a song that not many people know. Tiny Dancer, a little bit more popular, obviously. The Ballad of Danny Bailey. Just some songs like that. Not your typical Island Girl and all those other ones. But Elton John is up there, right? So Billy Joel. Then you have the Eagles, all right? Don Henley, Glenn Frey, Joe Walsh. Just tremendous talents. I love everything that they do. Queensryche, everything that you mentioned, the first 6 albums, tremendous. And I can't go into any more of that because I don't want to ruin any of my top 5 favorite albums. So we'll just leave it at that. And Alter Bridge. I have to pick Alter Bridge because you know what? They have 5 great albums, and 1 through 5, they didn't disappoint.
They are consistent.
So,
tremendously consistent.
So I have to give it to them as probably, in the bonus 5. Alter Bridge, even though they're a new artist, they don't have to be old.
No.
But I have to give it to them.
Tremonti's consistent. He's a great songwriter.
Yeah.
He's a tremendous songwriter.
And Miles Kennedy's vocals, it's a great band.
They write together, I'm sure. So that's also what helps Alter Bridge achieve the success that they have in as a band with their records. They really are something special. And then in the present time here, in my opinion, rock. I think a lot of people who think rock is dead are not looking up Alter Bridge.
No, and that's what I'd love to.
And his solo stuff, Tremonti's solo stuff is fantastic too. But
a lot of what I got for Christmas was Tremonti. Some of those albums that I got for Christmas.
Yeah,
actually, I think with 3 of them with Tremonti. So those are my top 10. Well, I'm sorry, my top 5 with the bonus 5.
Yeah,
all tremendous artists. I mean, I don't know if I challenge our listeners to write in their top 5.
I would love to see that.
Whatever
kind of music you like.
Yeah, it does. It could be
doesn't
country.
make a difference.
It could be country too.
It could be.
Write in your top 5, no matter what genre it is. We love to hear that kind of stuff. And like I said, before, I like when people don't agree with me. Because it may make me see a different side of somebody else's opinion.
We don't always agree with each other.
Yeah. Well, we didn't hear, even though we were, pretty much majority.
It's really moot.
It is moot, absolutely.
Well, speaking of country, too, as we were just talking about, the one thing that I felt I really neglected to cover on our last podcast about Is Music Dead is the impact of country music. I mean, these artists are touring even in the big cities now, where a few years back they weren't. Selling out shows left and right. Amphitheaters, bigger venues. Kenny Chesney sells Giant Stadium out every single time he comes here. Country music's impact presently cannot be ignored. It cannot be ignored. You agree?
Yeah, I agree.
So if we're gonna say is music dead, country music is music. We're not saying is rock dead. So I feel like I neglected to really go into. I'm not going to go too deep into it now because we've already touched on is music dead. But I just want people to understand, especially if there's country artists out there, country fans. I'm sorry, that were like, what about country music? Yes, I don't know how I missed that, and yeah, it can't. It can't. Country music is probably saving the music industry. And I may have said that one little. That's what I may have covered last time on the last show, but it can't be ignored. Its impact, its popularity, its success. So,
well, a lot of times Mike and I talk about music. When we talk about music, a lot of times we put, and it's just because it's our love, metal. We talk about rock music before anything else. So we don't want anybody to think that we discount country, because country is tremendous. It is the biggest genre out there, in my opinion.
without a doubt.
Yeah, but a lot of times we
Well,
focus.
you know why? People still buy records, not singles. They're not on iTunes buying ones. I mean, I'm sure that obviously that happens.
Sure.
But people are still buying, going to their Targets and their local Walmarts and finding these. And I'm going to be honest with you, both of those stores actually have a lot to do with the actual artist in putting out bonus tracks,
Yeah.
Target exclusive, Walmart exclusive. And a lot of them are usually towards country artists. So, it's showing that. And they're also giving their fans what they want.
I've definitely come around. I don't remember when I started listening to country music. I don't put it on,
Right.
but I don't mind if it's in the background.
Right.
Country music is actually very, very good music.
It's great summer music.
Yeah.
It's great fishing music. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not kidding.
It's good. It's good background music, because it's melodic.
I have a handful of artists that I really do like a lot in country. I wouldn't call myself a tremendous country fan, but I over the past 10 years or so, I have grown to like country music.
Yeah. No, I've definitely grown also. I couldn't speak in length about it though, but that's why, if people are talking country, I just sit back and listen.
Sure. I mean, I grew up liking Johnny Cash.
Yeah.
Since I was a kid. Cash has
Cash.
been one of those, he's like Sinatra, he just was always there, and I always liked Cash. But I've never really ventured too far out of Cash until recently, in the recent years.
Garth Brooks.
Yeah, I like some of Brooks' stuff. Guy's tremendous. He's a great artist. Another great, legendary artist, but
Number one, probably.
he's up there.
Yeah.
He's up there.
So, Brian from Arizona, we hope we answered your question. Talking about our top 5, we gave you a bonus 5. Actually, you know what? We want to hear yours.
Yeah, please.
So you asked the question, so now we're going to return that question back to you, and we want to hear your 5. And you could put them in any order. You could list it however you want to list it. And if you want to do your top 5 and a bonus 5, that's fine too.
And we will address the top 5 albums at another time.
Absolutely.
For sure.
Yes. In an upcoming podcast, that will be our main topic of the show, and we'll talk about that. I love talking about top anything.
It'll be our displeasure.
Yeah.
It's going to be very difficult.
It is. Just don't ask me for my favorite song, because I can't answer that question.
My Way.
No.
I'm just kidding. I just threw it.
Rainbow Connection.
God.
I'll break out my Muppet Movie 8-track.
I thought you were going to say rock and roll all night, party every day.
That is probably one of the worst songs ever.
Careful. Kiss fanatics are out there.
Listen, I'm a Kiss fanatic.
I know.
I'm a Kiss fanatic myself, but it's like Jump with Van Halen. I'm just gonna call it the way it is.
Are you really a Kiss fanatic? Do you have your Kiss casket on pre-order?
I don't have a Kiss casket on
Okay.
here. No,
Just making
nor do
sure.
I have a Gene Simmons bass or a Paul Stanley guitar. No, I am not a diehard. Like, I don't buy every greatest hits album that Kiss puts out, because what they do is they put out an album of greatest hits, they change the order, and they put out the same songs on another disc, and people buy it. They're marketing geniuses.
Well,
Actually, maybe not. Well, they are.
fans will buy anything.
No, that's what I was
Remember
going to say.
that.
They have a very strong fan base. The Kiss Army is just tremendously strong. So
When you've run out of new material, rehash the old stuff.
exactly. Just call it remastered and put it out
It's
again.
not so much genius. It's really our own faults.
Yeah, exactly.
Fans' faults for just eating it up, because we do.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I
No.
am one of those people who do that. Not for Kiss, though. Never.
No. You don't even own a Kiss album,
Not one.
and you say it proudly.
Not a one. Ever.
So let's discuss the Grammy review. All right. So the Grammys are on February 12th.
Boo.
All right. I think there are about 80 something categories that they go over in that 3 hour or whatever marathon of
Maybe Lady Gaga will win Best Metal Artist of the Year.
I think all country.
Everything.
So let's just talk about the top four that I think everybody seems to be focus on. Okay. And those top four are the album of the year, record of the year, song of the year, and the best new artist. For those of you, the album of the year, they don't know if you don't know exactly what it's awarded for. It's awarded for the whole album. Okay, it's basically the award is presented to the artist, the producer, and then the the recording engineer and the mastering engineer for that album. So a lot of times when you see like say Adele will get an award, okay, album of the year. Well, then you'll see a bunch of people join her on stage. Well, those are the people. That's the artist, the producer, the recording engineer, and the mastering engineer for that album. So it's a collection of songs on the album, whether it's LP or whatever. But it's basically the whole collection. Okay, then you have record of the year, and that award is actually for a single track or one track on the album. It's not the composition or a collection of songs. It's basically the single.
I was wondering why they didn't just call it the Single of the Year.
Right, because a lot of times when you say, "Hey, I got that new record from Billy Joel," and you think, "Okay, well, it's record of the year," but isn't that the album?
Well, I think it stems back from when 45s were still available. So
And it could, yeah, and it very well could be. So you have record of the year, right? And that award goes to the performing artist, the producer, and the recording engineer and or mixer of that particular song. So really, the record is a track. Okay. And then number 3 would be the song of the year, which is awarded for a single or an individual track, but it's more for the songwriter, okay, the person who wrote the lyrics or the melodies in that song, okay. And then you have the best new artist, which is awarded to a promising breakthrough performer who releases during the year of eligibility the first recording that established the public identity of that artist, which is not necessarily their first proper release.
it's all very interesting.
It is. It is interesting. I mean, I didn't realize, when you hear that and like I said, the record or album, I was a little tossed. I was a little confused about that, but hopefully that clarifies.
Well, you're going to discuss this year's Grammy nominations, aren't you? And we can have the subject as moot Grammy picks.
No,
Personal.
I'm not going to get into that. I will discuss it. I will discuss like the new artist, song of the year, record of the year, and album of the year.
Make a pick.
No, I'm not making it. Well, I can't. I definitely won't make a pick on the best new artist because I don't really know. I don't even know if I'm going to pronounce their names right.
Go for it.
Kelsey Ballerina.
This is best new artist.
Ballerini. Yeah, these are best new artists. Kelsey Ballerini, the Chainsmokers. If I'm going to pick anybody, it's going to be the Chainsmokers. Chance the Rapper, Maren Morris, and Anderson .Paak.
Maren Morris, I know, is a country artist. She's one of the newer country artists. I can't choose one out of those 5 because I don't really know anything by them.
Oh, I don't know either. All I know is that the Chainsmokers are probably the only ones that I've listened to on the radio. My kids like some of their music, and I've downloaded some of their music for them.
Good luck to all of you.
Yeah, so I'm best new artist. I'm going to say the Chainsmokers. They've actually been out for a while. So, song of the year, Formation, Hello, I Took a Pill in Ibiza, Love Yourself, and 7 Years.
I'm going to go with Hello.
I'm going with Hello.
Personally.
Yep, I'm going with Hello only because I love Adele. Everything about Adele.
Me too.
Okay, record of the year, Hello by Adele. Formation, Beyonce. 7 Years, Lucas Graham. Work, Rihanna featuring Drake. Stressed Out, and that's 21 Pilots.
I'm going to pick them for my girls because they're huge 21 Pilot fans, and I actually just saw them 2 weeks ago live.
You did?
And they were fantastic.
Really?
Yeah.
Where'd you see them?
Prudential Center, The Rock in New York.
Yeah.
Yeah. Took them to see them, and they blew me away.
Really?
They were that good. 2 guys, just plenty of energy. The crowd was eating it up. The crowd was great. It was fun. So for them, I'll pick them.
All right. Well, I agree that they are actually they put out good music. Okay, and they are entertaining. But
talented too.
Yeah, absolutely. But as far as record of the year, I'm going with Hello.
Yeah, well.
By Adele. And I have to tell you, I don't know who's going to win, but I think it's going to come down to, I'd be surprised if it's not Adele or Beyonce. But I think it's going to come down to probably those two will probably get the most.
Well, by
votes.
the end of the night, people are going to be talking about who won the most, Beyonce or Adele. It's going to come down to that probably.
Now, the song "Hello" came out well before Beyonce's.
No, yeah, the song "Hello" was probably released September or August of 15 because the album was released November 15.
So, I think people may lean towards Beyonce because I think a lot of people who hear the song "Hello," who know the song "Hello," and abused the song "Hello," repetition wise, as far as listening to it,
Well, much like "Rolling in the Deep."
are bored of it. Or they're tired of it. It's that song that song is just how radio just kills music.
Well, radio was waiting for something for years from her, so when they finally came out, they just hammered it.
It was on every other time.
Right.
So what I did was I got the album right away, okay, and anytime it was on the radio, I never listened to it.
I don't listen to the radio, so I don't have to worry about it.
Well, or every time it was on the radio or I heard it, I would just block it out of my mind because you know what?
In earshot.
Because I love that song and I will never get bored of that song. I just sit there and soak it all up and just get lost.
Oh, me too.
In her vocals. So I didn't get bored of it. Thank God I did what I did and I'm just voting for Adele all the way down. Album of the year, you have 25 by Adele, Lemonade, Beyonce, Purpose, Justin Bieber, Views by Drake, A Sailor's Guide to Earth, Sturgill Simpson.
In relation to Homer?
I don't know.
25, hands down. There's no disputing it. I'm sure people will, but sales too. I don't know. But I like that's my choice.
Yes, I'm going with 25. No questions. All right, Mike. So it's time for the artist of the podcast, which is brought to you by Vintage Vinyl Records, New Jersey's legendary independent record store since 1979, located at 51 Lafayette Road in Fords, New Jersey. You could also check out their website at vvinyl.com.
You won't be sorry you did.
Mike's second home. All right, so my pick, my artist of the podcast pick is Victim of Illusion. Band was formed in 2010 by Piero and Paolo in Turin, Italy. Consists of Piero Giacone. He plays guitar, synth, and programming. You have Paolo Gerlino on vocals and Luca Emerito on bass. Their music style is rock to prog. Their musical influences are Porcupine Tree, Tool, Massive Attack, and Radiohead, just to name a few. They currently have 2 albums out. The first album, which was in 2011, is What Senses Blow Away, which is an EP, and it has 5 tracks on it. Their second album, which was put out in 2014, Oxid Eyes, and that has 8 tracks. And they're currently working on a third album as we speak. Great band, great sound. You have to check them out. They have a very unique style, and I really do enjoy listening to this band. Check them out on iTunes, YouTube, Bandcamp, Reverb Nation. You could also follow them on Twitter and Facebook. Our outro is actually going to be a track from their album called Oxidize, The Day That Never Comes. So stay tuned for that. You won't be disappointed. Mike, it's your turn.
All right.
Was that short enough? Because
That was excellent.
I usually have to wake you up.
That was really streamlined.
It was streamlined.
I'm proud of you.
It was streamlined, but you know what though? I don't want to what's the word I'm looking for?
Undercut them? Very proud of you.
Yeah, well, definitely check them out. They're tremendous. I enjoy it. I do follow them on Twitter, and every time I could retweet what they have to offer, I do. So I don't think anybody will be disappointed.
My choice this podcast is going to be the band Haken, Haken. They're a British prog band, more metallic, but just great songs. They have 4 records and 1 EP out, and I think every single one is wonderful. You won't be disappointed if you like the style of music. Actually, just yesterday, the record company Inside Out re-released and remastered their first 2 records, which were Aquarius and Visions. And they also have The Mountain and Infinity, which was last year's release, which is absolutely amazing. And the EP was called Restoration, which came out in 2014. The band just continuously gets better and better with each record. The musicianship is fantastic, but it's not just about that because the songs are there. If you like prog, if you like metal, No screaming, no yelling. Just great singing, melodic vocals, great guitar playing and bass playing, keyboards, drums. They're just a great prog band. If you like that style of music, do not think you'll be disappointed. They're everywhere. They're not like a local band or independent band. You can find them on Amazon and iTunes and Spotify, whatever your medium of music listening is. Definitely check them out. All of their records. I would, if you want to, start with the last one and move back. You won't be disappointed, whatever your choice is. But Haken, Haken, check them out. They're fantastic.
All right, Mike, so it's time for the answers to our trivia questions. Number 1, what is Alicia Keys' real name?
Alicia Ogello Cook.
All right, number 2, what year was the first Grammy Award ceremony held?
May 4th, 1959.
And of those top 4, the question number 3 was how many artists won all 4 of the top 4 Grammy Awards that we just covered today?
Well, 2 artists won all 4. First, there was the great Christopher Cross of the Arthur theme, Sailing, great songs. He won all 4 in 1980. And then the wonderful Adele won for Best New Artist in 2009, and then Album, Record, and Song of the Year in 2012.
Wow.
Deservedly so.
He won all 4. That's amazing. That's good. That's good. I would have never guessed Christopher Cross.
I love Christopher Cross.
What's your favorite song by him?
That's a tough one. Probably, what's yours?
Ride Like the Wind.
Yeah, mine too.
I just love it.
Yeah, I couldn't think of the name of it really off the top of my head, but yes, that is my favorite.
I love that song. The louder, the better. I just,
You like Michael McDonald's on it too.
That's my second reason why I do like it. But I just love that song. Just brings me back, way back in the day. And Michael McDonald, one of my favorite vocalists of all time. So it's time to land the plane and wrap this show up.
Is that time already?
It is that time. Time flies when you're having fun. So we want to hear from you. So write in your opinion, comments, or topics you want us to talk about too. The subject is moot@yahoo.com, and we will bring them up during future shows. You could also follow us on Twitter at TSIM_podcast. Coming up next, our outro song from the band Victim of Illusion. Their track, The Day That Never Comes, which is off their Oxidized album. For now, I am Dom, and across from me is...
Mike, and we are out.
Lost in a screen opportunity. Out of the window, mystical rain. Unnecessary waiting for a stump. Blue shadow cover me like a cage. I am waiting for the day. But the day will never come. In the dark, trying to prevail between the slits, invisible chain. Look at the sky, waiting for the new day. It will be better, is what you say. I am waiting for the day. But the day will never come. Already past. Relive the day that never comes. Relive the day that never comes. Relive the day that never comes. Swimming in the air, weightless in the black space, like a leaf in the wind blowing from below. Noises in the distance remind me of the day